Welcome everyone back to our weekly HDI local chapters live stream show. This show is brought to you by Robert Half Technology, a leading provider of technology professionals needed to build, deploy, and operate technology in the cloud and digital world. Now you can check them out. The address is at the top of the screen, roberthalf.com/technology. If you're a company looking for employees, that's the place you can go. And if you're an employee looking for an awesome employer and a career, check them out. They also have other information on career building and hiring practices. So again, roberthalf.com/technology. All right. So first of all, today was supposed to be a SmackDown session, and one of our guests had to cancel at the last minute for personal reasons. So the sole survivor in today's SmackDown match is none other than Liz Bunger. Now, Liz has been a KCS practitioner for 13 years, and the last 8 as a knowledge program manager. And when she's not helping people find answers to their questions, she's busy chasing a monster. Welcome to the show, Liz.
Thanks, Tom.
Now, I know this monster you're talking, well, I think I know who you're talking about, but I don't know him as a monster because all I ever hear is a snoring going on when I'm on calls with you. So,
Oh, then you must have somehow on the calls that we've been on, he hasn't jumped on top of me and gotten in the video, because usually if you've been on a meeting with me and I've been on camera, you typically get to see the monster jumping on top of me, looking for my attention. Just to be clear for everybody else, it is my dog. So yes, I do. Anybody who knows me knows I have a bit of an obsession with what I call my little monster. And just to be clear, I call him that because of the noises he makes.
yeah,
So
great dog. You know, it's funny I haven't ever seen that because it's not, I mean, I know we're on a few meetings a week, so it's kind of crazy. All right, so let's talk about the show today. So today we're going to talk about knowledge. And in the IT world, it's all about getting information to solve problems, to answer questions, to share knowledge into the hands of our technical folks, but more importantly, our customers, whether they're technical or not. So as I mentioned, this is a SmackDown conversation. I'm going to make a feeble attempt at being the other side, but there are 2 sides to today's conversation. One is knowledge engineering approach, and the other one is KCS, or Knowledge Center Service. So Liz, let's start out by telling the audience what the difference between knowledge engineering and KCS is.
sure. And I'm going to make it very simple. So just to be clear, I'm leaving out a lot of the details, but the basic difference between knowledge engineering and KCS, with knowledge engineering, you typically have a team of people that are dedicated to writing content. They're usually technical writers, content specialists, something along those lines, and they manage all of the knowledge for the organization. They create it, they edit it, they keep it updated, all along those lines. So anytime somebody wants knowledge information shared, it has to go to this team to create, write, approve, publish, all of those things. KCS is much different. KCS is group ownership. So the organization owns the knowledge. Everybody owns it. Everybody participates in it. Everybody can contribute to it. And anybody can help improve the knowledge that is out there.
All right, so since this is a SmackDown, you got to pick a side. So let's tell us
easy.
what side you're on. It's easy. Go ahead.
I can easily pick a side. And a lot of it from things that I've seen, and certainly from my experience, I think KCS is definitely the way to go. It's a much faster way to get information out there for your technical support professionals, so the people on your team, and for your customers. It gets it out there much faster.
Yeah, and I'm guessing you're talking from experience, having lived both sides of that, not just the KCS side, right?
Yes. And, in some ways, I still see some of that because we have some legacy information that was out there from when we were in more of a knowledge engineering approach. And people will come to me and say, hey, I found this information. It's really outdated. I don't know how to get it updated. I don't know how to get it updated either. I don't know who created it. I don't know where they are. I don't know if they're still with the company. So that we're moving that stuff as we come across those things into our current knowledge base with a KCS approach to it.
Nice. Well, so I said I'd make a feeble attempt because where I work, I don't know that we use either. Maybe, and I shouldn't say where I work, but in the college of the university where I work, we're just a small organization. Not that KCS is too big for us. It's just we haven't gone that right way yet. But, if you're doing this KCS approach, how do you how do you not lose control of the process or procedure of getting this done?
Oh, that's the big thing, the control. I'm so glad you used that word, because that's why people love knowledge engineering, is because they love to have the control over it. And that's what I see. And I tell you, even when I approach managers, new managers who aren't familiar with the concept of KCS, for them, lots of times it's, okay, I really like what you're saying, but what's the control? Who's going to review it? Who's going to approve it? Who's going to make sure that everything is perfect before we put the information out there? The first thing I will say is perfection is very expensive. So unless you are going to dedicate headcount to making sure that it's perfect all the time, and is that really what your company can afford to do? Is dedicate someone to make sure that we've got perfection all the time, then KCS is a great way to manage that. And actually, in some ways, you have more control over it, because the information that they're talking about, that they're sharing, is out there in writing for people to see. So what I like to tell people is, think of it this way. If you have, let's say, one of your technical support professionals is on the phone, they get a call from a customer and they're going to give them an answer. Well, you're not reviewing the answer before they give it to them over the phone. So what's the difference? This way, they put it in the knowledge base. Now you can see this is the information they know to be true. And if it's wrong, when other people use that, they're going to see it and go, oh, this is wrong. We shouldn't be saying this. And now you can update it real time. So next time someone goes to give that answer, they're giving their correct answer. It's very difficult to listen to everything that your folks say all the time, especially now when we're in a very remote world.
Yeah, and just for the record, for the audience, we didn't prepare these questions. Like, yeah, it's funny, I used the word control, and I kind of did it on purpose, because as a manager, that's kind of the way you feel sometimes. But I didn't. It wasn't like a hot word that Liz prepped me for. It just is something that I do see. But so let's take it up from let's debate that. Let me ask this question. So if I don't have control of this and everybody owns the process, how do I know that it's not missing something or slipping through the cracks? Or what happens if nobody's reviewing it? Or is that part of the process? Again, I don't know KCS. So
it is. It's one of the big parts of the process. Reuse is review. So every time somebody reuses an article, they review it. And when you're talking about something missing, so I think the big thing with KCS is we want you to create articles quickly. What's the question? What's the answer? That's what I want you to put out there. And then next time somebody uses it, if something's missing, then they're going to, then they'll add that information in. So it's really that whole organizational ownership. Everybody owns it. Everybody participates. It's only going to be as good as the participation that you get.
Yeah.
And, everybody will, when they say and this was something when I started in my role, I had people come to me and they would say, we have outdated information, there's missing information, there's whatever, something's wrong. And I would say to them, it's not mine, it's yours. So if you're finding something's wrong with it, you have permission, you have the expectation to go and fix that information. I think the more we shared that message, the more people really jumped on board. And there is, just for the people who are freaking out right now, thinking it's the wild, wild west and it's a free-for-all, there's a licensing model that goes with KCS. So it's not everybody gets to edit everything. There are restrictions, there are controls in place. Anybody can comment on it. So if you see something that's wrong, then you can add a note and say, hey, this is wrong, it needs to be updated. And then the proper people who have the right license can update it.
Yeah. Because so one of the things I thought about, going back to that control thing and having my I's dotted and my T's crossed, is how do I know that what's being said is going to be understood by the target audience of that article or that knowledge, document? Like, how do I know it's getting done?
So that's when you're talking about how are they going to know what's being said? KCS actually makes that easier, because think about it. When you send something to a technical writer, you're sending it off to the technical writers who are speaking the way they want everybody to speak. They're going to speak in the company language, right?
True.
Yeah, we don't talk like that.
No.
And our customers certainly don't talk like that. They don't know what our real language is. They're talking in layman's terms. They're talking in, this is what I need to do, how I need to do it. Pardon me, not that technical piece. So by putting it in the hands of the people who are hearing the questions. Now, the title of your article is really going to be whatever the question was that they asked. No translation from
Gotcha.
the technical writer.
That's important to know.
Yeah. What was the question that was asked? We're not going to translate it. What was the question that was asked? And then when you get into the rest of the body of the article, that's where you get into some of those terms that we really want people to use. But that's how they can find it, is it's written the way they talk.
So the question is, but what if I have like super uberly technical people that are taking the calls and they talk like that? I mean, is there answers? Are they still going to write like a technical writer?
Well, I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who works on a service desk that writes like a technical writer in terms of that formal documentation. Yeah, they're going to write too technical.
Yeah, they use the jargon and the lingo.
And they are, and I've seen it done, and it can be very difficult for the customers to find the knowledge article. So that's one of the big things to reinforce with KCS is it's all about the context. You need to get it in the context of the way the customer asked the question. So that's something that we really focus on, especially with the title of the article. If you want to use those more technical terms, then add those into the body of the article. Your technical people can find it. They can find a simpler title and it will make sense to them. So it's really about making that context as a big piece of your training. I'll tell you, I love context so much that in our content standard, context gets five paragraphs. Talking about getting it in 5 paragraphs to basically say whatever they asked, that's what goes into the knowledge article. Don't translate it.
And so, I'm still thinking of that control piece and that knowledge engineering piece. Not that you've got me sold pretty much on KCS, but I'm just thinking about going through like, so does KCS have, is there, included in this formula or whatever, this method, this process of like helping our folks write a better article for the customer to hear it? Does the customer see it? Do they get to review it? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so it is. So one thing, everybody who sees it gets to review it, and you give them the opportunity to at least comment on it. Now, we're not going to give external customers, probably for the most part, the ability to edit it, but we're going to give them the ability to say, yes, this was good, or, hey, I need you to update this. But one of the other key principles of KCS is having a structure. So having a template that people can create the knowledge articles so they have the same type of format. It's not like we're putting out Word documents and people can put whatever they want in it. You have a structure where you have a minimum structure. You've got your environment where it's happening, what the problem is, what the issue is, what your resolution is. So yeah, you need a basic template that people follow for the knowledge articles.
So not a 5-paragraph technical jargon on War and Peace about how to fix a technical. Yeah.
Right. And that's the other thing too, because lots of times when you get technical writers writing things, they put so much information in there that I don't have time to read that. I'm on the phone with someone whose system's not working. They can't do their job. I can't read your training and documentation. I need it to say step 1, step 2, step 3. This is what you do. Yeah. Let's get back to work.
I like that. Yeah, no, that sounds exactly like what, and I know you and I were talking before the show about what, how mine is. And the more you talk about this, I think I have a content writer, not a technical. He's very technical, but he's also always pushing back on us about, you can't say that to a customer. They don't know what you're saying. And so I guess he's more of a content guy, and I shared with you that we don't do the technical writer type thing. I'm supposed to, or my team is supposed to write up an article and then submit it through a process where we give it to them and they go through it and, do their magic on it. So it doesn't sound like, a robot typed up the knowledge article or whatnot. So,
right.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem with doing something like that, because it sounds great and why can't we do that? But it takes so long. Think about it. You want to get something added to the knowledge base because it's an issue today. Somebody called about it today. Somebody else might call about it later today.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to solve it again today. And lots of times, we send this off to get formally reviewed and published, and it's going to sit in somebody's queue. I've talked to a group now that has that type of process. Their backlog is 6 months long. In 6 months, I don't care anymore.
No, and let me tell you the other thing that I see from my side is where this happens. It doesn't. We push back rolling out a service or a project or something until the knowledge is done and ready. And if it's backed up, we're delaying service, because you're right. Our service desk has to be prepared to answer questions. We can't like just sneak attack them. Liz, you're not going to believe this, but we're down to like the last 30 seconds of the show. So, anything that you'd like to share with the audience before we call it an episode?
I think the biggest thing that I would share is if you're not doing knowledge management now, or even if you are and you're really considering doing knowledge management, absolutely look into KCS. Companies that follow KCS are typically much more successful than companies that follow a knowledge engineering approach. And they'll have long-term effects, and you can save your company a crazy amount of money in productivity.
Yeah. And I was going to say, and you're speaking from knowledge of being a participant in winning an award for your company, being so successful at saving money. So congratulations on that. That's no small feat. All right, so we are going to call it a show. Liz, thank you. I know we're both on the East Coast. Normally I have West Coast guests. On the East Coast, it's rolling in there to bedtime for some of us to get up early in the morning. So I'll thank you and let you go and reunite you with your husband and Monster over there.
Thank you.
Let everybody know that next week, our guest is going to be a few of the members from the HDI Local Chapters Executive Committee, our board, and they're going to share what the benefits are of HDI Local Chapters. So tune in next week, and hopefully we'll get at least 3 of them on the show to have a chat with us. Liz, thank you, and good night to everybody, and see you next week.